Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to Final Trade. Man, it feels like it has been weeks since I talked with you guys. I think it's been about 4 days since I made a video. I have been, as usual, so unbelievably busy and then running the business on top of my day job, doing the sealed sales and everything else. Golly, it is going great. The sealed sale number 31 on Thursday night. Dominaria remastered collector boxes, my absolute favorite product since I started this business 4.5 years ago. We were selling them for quantities from one up to a factory sealed case of six. And the amazing thing about this sale is every single person who ordered bought the case quantity. I was so excited. Not only the biggest discount per box, but you get the factory sealed case. Excellent decision. So if you paid Thursday night, everything was in the mail yesterday. I still have one straggler that I'm waiting on. So it's payment in because I got to close out accounting for the sale, got to do all the rest of the stuff and get everything rounded out. So, as far as opening the store, I talked to my real estate agent again, and we have two spots we're going to go look at next week. I'm very excited to finally get to go see some additional spots. We had the one we looked at a couple weeks ago, and basically the landlord just was not willing to deal. He just wanted to give me a 1 year lease, which was unacceptable. I'm not going to move my entire business again after a year. It'll cost me hundreds of hours to move locations, and it's not worth it for to just dive in on the first property you go look at. So it was a good property. It was in a spectacular location, but man, it was just not a deal that I could take. So the market, guys, let's talk about the market. It is right now is really the most unpleasant time to be in any market for someone like me because I would classify myself as, let's say, counter cyclical and contrarian are the two best descriptors of how I've always been as an investor. And so when we're at this point in the market where everything has gone screechingly hot, we've climbed up this parabolic cliff now, and we're still pointed skywards. And we can all look around and we say, okay, sometime in the future, probably sooner rather than later, we're going to tip over and we're going to start going down. And what it'll look like at first is, oh, we're just trending sideways a little bit. And then people will say, "Oh, well, it's just doing a small correction," and then it'll proceed downwards for a while. Is it coming in the next month, the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? I don't know. It as always, the TCG market depends on the wider economy. It depends on the stock market. It's downstream of so many other markets because of the heavy reliance on people having just extra cash that they can blow on cardboard. So I don't know when it's going to turn over and start going down. But right now, where you're at the end of that parabola looking skywards, there's very, very little when I look out there that I feel safe buying right now, where I feel like the upside potential is significantly greater than the downside risk on the medium timeline. Now, on the long timeline, yes, these are scarce collectibles that people destroy for fun. It'll always be that way. But on the medium timeline, I don't want to just go buy a lot of stuff right now in order to hold it underwater for 6, 12, 18, or 24 months while we go through the next bear cycle. And so I've been buying a lot less. I expressed that in my What Did I Buy July video recently that I delivered at the beginning of August. And I've been talking to some patrons both in a brief post I made about a week or maybe 10 days ago, and in private conversations with patrons, and in the monthly newsletter that I've been working on yesterday and today for August. Really, that at this kind of time, you have to look for deep value in the market. You have to look for those things that other people have passed up, that other people ignore, that other people have an excessively bad attitude about, that other people may not yet feel there is a strong enough consensus around being a good long term product to put back in your closet. So that's what my newsletter this month is about, with several things that I've looked at, some of them that I've already started buying. And so, patrons, that'll probably be out. I'm hoping to get that out this weekend. Man, that's ambitious. But Kids are at grandma's for the weekend, so I will have some extra bandwidth to work on this kind of stuff and hopefully get the newsletter out. But back to the main topic, which was it really feels bad in this part of the market because you look around and you see the dumb money has flooded in. Golly, is it flooded in, and it has just chased everything. When you see stuff like Bloomberg collector boxes that have gone up $300 in the last 5 weeks, that's it feels good, but it's not sustainable. And if we were to roll into a bear market, say in the next 2 months, you'd expect a decent pullback on that. It gets more nuanced when you talk about the upcoming products, and the two that I think really have the most interesting difference in them right now are Spider-Man and Avatar collector boxes. And the way I feel about the potential futures of those two boxes is this. It's that Spider-Man is coming in about the next 4 or 5 weeks. It's into September, last week of September, I believe. And so it's already been on sale for quite a while. It's already slowly marched up. It started around $500 for those collector boxes, and they've bounced around between about 800 and somewhere in the 900s more recently in the last few weeks. I think that's a safer bet. I think even at 800, 850, $900 today, the downside risk is pretty low. Because again, while I feel like we're going to roll into a bear market here in the next 6, 8 months, I think Spider Man will be released in the next 5 weeks, and enough of those boxes will get gobbled up and destroyed in the next couple of months that even in a coming bear market, say before the end of the year or early in 2026, the price will not be able to fall that much. Now, Avatar is the other side of this equation, right? So with Avatar, it does not release until the last week of November, right before people go out on their week-long break for Thanksgiving. So we've got a lot longer timeline until we get to the release. And I mean, the very, very, very first price I saw for Avatar collector boxes was in the 800s. And so it's starting out at a much higher price in the market. I mean, the market is demanding, the sellers are demanding more, and the buyers are willing to pay more because enough of the Timmies feel like it's a sure bet. To me, man, that feels highly dangerous going into yet another ultra high price Universes Beyond standard expansion, having it come out late in the year when it's competing with the holiday season where we always see at least a bit of weakness in the Magic market. And boy, starting out at 800, $900 now for those collector boxes, and then being later in that time period where I feel the risk of rolling into a bear market is increasing. That's the kind of confluence of factors where you say, in Craig's opinion, the downside risk there at $900 is pretty large compared to the upside potential. And like I always warn, on the rare occasions where on the short or medium timeline I am net bullish, or sorry, net bearish on a product, on those rare occasions, I always remind everyone I don't have to be correct every time. I have built this business into unbelievable proportions in just 4.5 years because I'm willing to be wrong once in a while. And because I'm willing to simply stay out of a bet when I feel like the upside potential and the downside risk are imbalanced too far to the downside. And so, if, say, I were to completely skip Avatar and I was wrong and it runs up to $2,000, that's fine because I'll just use my money on some other product. And that's the wonderful thing about the TCG market is there's always so much opportunity and different products, new expansions, different boxes, everything else. There's always more opportunity if you just feel personally that a particular bet is too risky for your risk tolerance, for your time horizon, for whatever other factors that you put into it. If you feel that it's too risky, you can just skip it and take something else. And right now, $900 avatar boxes definitely look that way to me, but $900 Spider-Man boxes don't. And so it's just a matter that they're going to come out separated by 8, 9 weeks or so between the two, and that the market could be changing dramatically by the time we get there. Now, I have said several times, both in private conversations and on videos in the last few weeks, that I just kind of very squishy and subjectively feel that the risk of a TCG bear market by the end of 2025 is still around 20% in my estimation. Yeah, I still feel like that, but I also still feel that the chances for that risk to grow into the end of the year are still in place. And when you look out and you see that so far there's no real relief on the availability and the prices of play boxes, well, that's a very bad sign for Magic. And yeah, okay, they've confirmed that they're going to be doing reprints of Spider-Man play boxes. That's great, but they need huge reprints. They need to release them through the normal distribution system. They need to not jack up the prices. And they need to be able to get those 30 booster pack standard expansion play boxes into players' hands at about $110 to $120. Yeah, it's a lot more than the $85 draft boxes we were getting 5 years ago, but the world has changed. A lot more money has been printed. And those days aren't coming back, but $110 to $120 standard expansion play boxes is where we need to be with Magic. 30 booster pack boxes. And until it gets back down there and people can enjoy standard, they can enjoy current limited environments, and they can enjoy the products and opening and cracking boxes and things like that at those kind of prices. Until we get back there, just the cost of play boxes are a very bearish indicator for the medium term of Magic. Now, collector boxes, yes, they are collector boxes. They should be scarce. They should be collectible. They should be highly valued. They should go up in price. What we saw in 21 and 22 and most of 23, where collector boxes come out and they immediately plummet below wholesale, that was not proper. That was not how things should have been engineered. And that was a very, very sick market that eventually WotC was able to engineer and slash print runs and get out of. And eventually Printed to Oblivion comes to an end, and a lot of those products have recovered and I think now all of them have, even things like Streets of New Capenna. Collector boxes have recovered, one of the last holdouts of just terrible engineering and low value. Collector boxes should be collectible. They should be prized items that you should not be surprised to see going up in value. So, $900 standard expansion collector boxes when they first come into the market, that's probably a little too far in the other direction. So, as usual, the markets will swing way too wildly one way and then way too wildly the other. And I feel that right now we're seeing way too many factors in Magic swing way too wildly to the bearish indicators. Now, prices right now are very bullish, they're very high. They've gone parabolic on a lot of these products, but that makes, in my mind, for bearish indicators. And again, that's because I am contrarian and countercyclical. That's how I've built my investing style over 20 years. And so that's how I see things right now. And I will tell you, I love nothing more than a good, deep, long bear market to bring down prices, to flood the market with product, to create those opportunities for the small guy to break boxes for singles, to arbitrage that EV very, very lucratively. I'm looking forward to potentially that coming back for the kind of small box breaker like me. I look forward in bear markets to being able to stack back huge number of boxes at below wholesale prices and put them away for the next bull run, just like we here at Final Trade did in 21 through 23. So I'm excited whether we keep going on this screechingly hot market for the next 6 months or whether we roll into a bear market. Either way, I know how to be successful here. Final Trade knows how to be successful, and my patrons and my viewers know how to be successful, and especially you guys who were with me all the way back in 2021. So I'm excited no matter what happens over the next 6 months. I simply see the risk increasing. And none of that gets into the kind of wider macro picture of the economy, of interest rate cuts, of the Federal Reserve, of, man, Jerome Powell is a clown, the Federal Reserve is a circus, but they are in an unenviable spot where if they cut, they'll probably reignite inflation above what they would like. And if they don't cut, then you're probably going to start seeing job market issues and rising unemployment in the coming 6 months. And so, through all of the Federal Reserve's bad decisions over the last, damn, 70 years, 120 years, 30 years, all the way to Alan Greenspan in the 90s, we can go back any period we want in Federal Reserve history. They've been making bad decisions. But the last 15 years, if we're going to be the very most generous to them, 15 years of zero and near zero interest rate policy, creating so much sickness in the wider economy. And now it's to the point where if they cut, they're damned. And if they don't cut, they're damned. And if they raise rates, they're damned. But golly, in a sane, logical world where we had taken some of our economic medicine a couple times over the last 15 years instead of constantly kicking the can down the road, well, we would actually probably raise rates right now because the real estate market is an unbelievable sick bubble. And so many other parts of the economy and the markets are also. But we're probably going to see a dovish response in the next 6 months. The subjective likelihood that people vote on for the odds of the Fed lowering interest rates before the end of the year, it now went up to 93%, is what I read yesterday after Jerome Powell gave his speech. And, if that happens, well, it's going to juice the asset market. It's going to juice inflation. It's going to juice the TCG market. It's going to juice the magic market. And boy, we could see another parabolic move on a lot of these collector boxes. And so it makes it really hard to make plans when you're looking at things where the market has been irrational. It's been unbelievably optimistic and hot for the last 6 months for Magic, the last 6 weeks specifically. And now we're looking at potentially a Fed rate cut, which will only add more gas to the fire. So boy, it's going to be interesting no matter what. And like I said, if a particular bet spooks you, if a particular bet looks too lopsided in its potential outcomes to you, just skip it. You don't have to take every bet in this market. There's always more opportunity. And, there are a couple things out there. Like I said, I'm writing my monthly newsletter for my patrons about some of those deep value areas that I see where the market is ignoring it, missing it, maybe too negative on it. But, you can always go into things like that. And I would be doing that more right now, but I'm still trying to save some cash off to the side because sometime here in the next few weeks, I expect to be putting down security deposit and first month's lease and all those things on getting into a commercial property. And then I'm going to need a whole chunk of cash for initially ordering inventory for it, fixtures, painting the place, getting everything set up to open the store. So Craig, why are you opening a store into what you expect to be a bear market? Guys, I started Final Trade January of 2021, and by that summer, we were thoroughly in a bear market. I am not afraid of bear markets at all. And a store has different dynamics than guys like you and me sitting in our bedrooms buying and selling boxes on the long term. So a store is a completely different pillar of this kind of business that allows me to more lucratively and with better economies of scale leverage other parts of business. So I am not scared of bear markets in the least. I'm not scared of bear markets. Opening a store, I have built this business in the last 4.5 years from nothing into this robust monstrosity that you see now. So let me know what you think, guys. It's wild out there. It's going to keep being wild for a while until we roll over, until sometime in the next up to a year, maybe, until we get into a bear market and things cool off, until most people go away, until most people say it's all dead, it's never coming back. You and I can be hoarding boxes away for the next bull run. It's going to be wild until we get into that deep, boring time in the bear market where no one wants to talk about anything. So it's going to continue to be wild. Keep coming along with me, guys. It's been great. And damn, I'm looking forward to it every day. So excited. Let me know what you think, guys. Thanks to everyone who makes this content possible, especially my very generous supporters on Patreon. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, and join me on Final Trade. Buy a hat.